Right, let's talk Arsenal then. Top of the Premier League, 3 goals conceded in all competitions, John. And Gabriel Martinelli dreaming not of 1, not of 2, not of 3, but a potential quadruple. You spoke to him earlier on in the week. What did he have to say?
Well, not just that, but also saying a lot of this squad is dreaming about the World Cup as if it's a great incentive, obviously, for performance levels and why they need to keep on winning. But yeah, he was saying that they very much believe that they're in for the biggest prizes. They've got the squad to deal with it this year. What I really like about Martinelli is that undoubtedly he is a player that's been under pressure. There's been a lot of doubts over perhaps his future, whether he's a starter or not. He's been in and out of the team, but whenever he's come on as a substitute, he's made an impact. I'm thinking of Bilbao and then also Manchester City. The other night, I thought he was exceptional in that game against Atletico Madrid. And here's one for you. Where does that rank in 45 minutes of football under Mikel Arteta? I think it's very difficult to always kind of compare and contrast because the opponents are different. It's not your classic Atletico team, but I still think it's right up there. 4 goals in, 13 minutes, 14 minutes, absolutely sensational. But it was the way they put their kind of foot to the floor in that second half. I thought they were absolutely fantastic. I do think they are playing well. They're playing well with energy, flair, and dare I say it, set pieces. Arteta gets very defensive. We were both at Arteta's press conference on Friday, weren't we? And he does get rather almost affronted, offended when people ask him too much about set pieces. I can understand why, because sometimes they do play good football in open play and they score spectacular goals from open play. But I don't actually understand why he gets a little bit hurt, shall we say, about that sort of kind of, dare I say, sort of almost backhanded compliment, because they're the best in the business at corners. A lot of people are doing better than them at throw-ins, but I tell you what, when it comes to free kicks, no one's better. And why wouldn't you champion that? Why wouldn't you use that as a weapon in the armoury? It's got all the makings of a spectacular season for Arsenal. I think it's worth noting as well, you know, how many leaders they've got on the pitch, how many kind of strong personalities. You know, Odegaard's out. Last season, that would have been a disaster. Now you've got Saka wearing the armband. I love Saka. I think he should be kind of captain for club and country in his career. And they've got leaders right throughout the team, I think, you know. So it's got the makings of a really spectacular and special season for Mikel Arteta.
Riyadh, picking up on Mikel Arteta, there's a very interesting piece in The Observer from George Sims. He says, belligerent, defensive, but is Arteta also shower saboteur? This is to do with the maybe underhand tactics some have accused Arsenal of when Atletico Madrid didn't have any hot water on Monday evening after their training session. Now, there is an interesting quote in here on this piece, He says, look, we appear to be reaching the point where Arteta is becoming the manager he's always pretended to be, or at least the one he has always believed himself to be, the serial winner, the prodigal son, Guardiola's heir and usurper. The defining feature of the 4-0 win over Atletico was not the dominance, but the ease and the nonchalance as well. Confirmation of the burgeoning suspicion that Arsenal, and by extension Arteta, now belong reasonably among Europe's elite. I remember John was at the press conference before the Atletico game, and one of the questions you did ask him was about Diego Simeone's last visit to England, when he had that altercation with a fan. And Arteta said, look, I sympathise with him because it's very, very difficult to keep your emotions in check. But he's actually said, I'm working on becoming a lot more calmer. Is it working?
No. No, it's like that's utter madness as a proposition. He's a lunatic on the sideline. It's great, and he's fantastic for it. I just want to dwell a little bit on the shower thing as well, because I know there's the suspicion, and then there's the official version that no, this was accident, both showers, cold water went off for everyone. No. I've got no information left or right on this, but I love the idea that Mikel Arteta is somehow channeling John Beck, and he's resorting to all of the filthy tricks in the book, and I can actually well imagine it as well. I think he's fantastic, Arteta, and beyond the team and the squad that he's built there and how it might be coming to a head this season, it's just even as that character, that personality basis for the Premier League. It's great when you have someone who fans are divided down the middle, where you think this man's a a genius moving in the right direction or you absolutely despise him. It's always something quite nice when you have polarising individuals like that. But what he's built there this season, or what the squad that's been partially built for him, they are creating something brilliant. We're going to come on to City in a minute, because that is the that is the soundtrack now to their season, and you play the sort of John Williams Jaws score behind as sort of City suddenly become competent again. And with Arsenal, it's again going to what sort of Cross was saying a moment ago. I love that somehow set pieces have become a dirty word, as if this isn't one of those skills that has endured throughout the history of football and has always been incredibly important, and they've mastered something. That's brilliant, but it's sort of to try and minimise Arsenal to a team reliant on Declan Rice or Saka set pieces is utter garbage, because they play the most beautiful football, and we'd seen it prior to the Atletico win in midweek. I was over at the Fulham game the Saturday before, and what impresses me most about this Arsenal team is the different ways of being able to get to the same outcome. So we've seen them play teams off the pitch. If you look at the talent in that squad, whether it's Saka, Odegaard when he's fit, Calafiori, fantastic defence, Declan Rice, they can beat teams with art. But that Fulham game was actually pretty ugly. They had to dig in. They had to ride out a little bit. They didn't face many what we would consider to be proper chances, but they spent a huge amount of that game on the back foot, and they still found a way of doing it when they didn't have their best stuff. And that's another dimension that they've been able to add this season. So I think we're seeing a far more complete Arsenal. Obviously, that goes hand in hand with the fact that they've got the deepest squad in the league now this season. I think we're in this period now. Prior to the Fulham game, it was 7 games in 3 weeks. It's now down to 5. But the fact that they're able to move through this congested period of the season, winning each week, I think that's huge. I think it's going to be it's an interesting game today against Palace. We've seen what they've done this season. That's not going to be easy, but these are precisely the kind of games which we would have looked at last season, like we did with West Ham and Fulham last season, and say this is going to be possibly where wheels come off. And now we're looking at it thinking it would be a surprise if it did.
Yeah, Arsenal against Crystal Palace, and it is live on Sky Sports Premier League this afternoon.
So guys, there you have it. They're the league leaders so far. That fantastic defensive record. But I guess, Julian, how key is it, the fact that we're this far into the season, but they've already done Anfield, Old Trafford and St James's Park and come through with points in a couple of those games?
Yeah, and hosting City as well, obviously at the Emirates. And I think if you told Arteta and the players, would you sign for this many points after those games, they would have taken it, really. And you can even look at the game away at Liverpool, and that Szoboszlai free kick with 10 minutes to go, and that could have been a draw, and it would be even a better for them. So it's a great start of the season, and now maybe where the games are a little bit easier, certainly not the likes of Liverpool away and Newcastle away, United away, or City at home, that's also where they need the points, because last season is the points they dropped on their way during that campaign that in the end cost them.
Yeah, I mean, Ash, when you've got teams like that and you've already faced them, you've already been to Anfield and had those moments, how much psychologically is that a help to know that they're out the way and done?
It can be a help or a hindrance, I think, because sometimes you build yourself up for the so-called bigger games, and what you're saying is then you just let your guard down a little bit against the so-called lesser team. But I think that having the confidence, especially that Newcastle game, when I watched that one, I was like, okay, this Arsenal team is a level above last year's Arsenal team. They've learnt from some of the mistakes that they made. They seem more experienced. They're just solid throughout. The strength in depth is great. I think Arteta's team are positioned really well this season.
There's a question that I know, Julian, you're going to absolutely hate. Are Arsenal the best team in Europe right now? I know
you mean after
team.
PSG, that's what you mean?
That's exactly my point. Yeah, I know, obviously, you love your sacred Paris Saint-Germain, but, how good are they?
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly the best team in the Premier League for now, there's no doubt. They're the best defence, not just in England, but in the whole of Europe. I think AC Milan are the next team with 4 goals conceded. They control games well. They're the best team without the ball, structurally, defensively, in terms of organisation, on set pieces. They are incredible, really. And they're still without Martin Odegaard, arguably the most creative player in that squad. So they have an amazing momentum right now going for them, for sure. And yeah, they are probably one of the best in Europe with Bayern Munich. Right now, the two most informed in Bayern have won 12 in 12 in all competitions. This is something else. But yeah, I think the belief within that camp is that they are that team too. So now they are, like we were saying earlier, they have to show it every game, big team, small team, Champions League, the league, League Cup, whatever you want. But I think they have really that confidence massive at the moment.
Ash, what about you? You believe in the hype or?
Yeah, I am, honestly, to be honest, this season. I've got to say, in years past, we all know Arsenal kind of have a wobble and there's a lot of noise around it. But this year, I just think that with the signings that they brought in, but on top of what they already had, you look at that defensive unit they've got with the goalkeeper. It seems like they've got all the pieces. I can't see why they don't get it done. The Premier League, at least this year. Yeah. I know it's a long season, so much football to be played, but they have such strength and depth in each position. It's probably the two centre backs are key, really, if they can keep them. And the goalkeeper, I can see them going on and doing the whole thing.
You mentioned the new signings there. I mean, obviously, so much pressure has been put on Victor Gyökeres to get those goals. He went a long time without it. Midweek in the Champions League, he got two, quite potentially the ugliest goals I've ever seen in my life. But Ash, it looks so much of a relief for his teammates. Is that what it's like in a dressing room when you've got a striker that isn't performing?
100%, especially if he's popular within the changing room. You just want to supply him with as many chances as possible, and then you can see when they score, it happens all over the place, but when they score, there's like an extra, you can see it means a bit to everyone. You're happy for them because at the end of the day, that wins you games, so we all progress in that, but it's your mate as well, and you want him to score goals, and strikers feel the pressure when they're not scoring. Yeah. I can't say that they're the same about us and clean sheets, but we like to see them score. Yeah, so it's a relief when you've got a mate up front who gets his goals.
Yeah, I mean, what have you made of him so far?
I understand he's a 9, so he needs to score goals. I get that. But I think even in those 9 games where he hadn't scored between, what was it, Leeds and this one?
This one, yeah, Atletico, yeah.
There was a lot of good things that he would do for the team, unselfishness in a way, in holding up defenders, making that pressure, the trigger of the press, that was him, and the counter-pressing. All of that, I think, was very important for him. Look, remember the goal that they scored against Olympiacos, the Martinelli one. Yeah. It's his run that makes really the goal. Then he hit the post and Martinelli has a tap in. But
Martinelli basically tried to let it go in for him.
Exactly, at that point. You're right. But that run that he made, the strength and power that he had to go in front of his defender, and then he's a little bit unlucky with the finishing. But nobody else in that squad can do that run and be there at that time. So I think there was still a lot of really positive things he was doing. Even if he was not scoring, if he can score as well, they would take that. But I think he's also very important in what he brings to the game and to the team and how he affects the game.
As a defender, do you agree with that? Because are you looking at him going, he hasn't scored in 9 games, or are you thinking,
if he's in my team?
No, like if you're coming up against him.
No, yeah. You don't want a handful, and he is a handful, and you don't, because that's just going to give you a tough. If he scores or not, and more than likely when you play against a striker like that, either he scores or he just creates something by being such a handful that you take your eye off something else and they score. So it's a difficult matchup when you're playing against a striker like Gyökeres. He's big, he can run, he can hold it up, he can do all of the bits that we say a 9 should be able to do, which we don't get that much. There's not that many strikers with that profile in today's game. So I think he's a very good player. He'd be a nightmare to play against.
Arsenal face Crystal Palace this weekend on Sunday. For Eberechi Eze, obviously playing against a team that you've just come from, how much does that play into your head? Ash, you must have done it playing against your old side. Is it a positive or is it a negative?
No, I didn't enjoy it. I left Swansea and went to Everton and went back to the Liberty Stadium and I didn't enjoy it at all. Yeah, it was. I just found it tough. You're in the away dressing room instead of the one that you're used to. You're running out to the opposite side, and I didn't enjoy the 90 minutes at all. And for an attacking player, I guess if you score, it feels weird. But again, you're a professional. You're getting paid a lot of money to do the best for the team that you're playing for now. So you've got to get that job done. But I find it a tricky one and an awkward one, unless you're playing against a team that you didn't like. And
Manager that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, reminiscent of Adebayor just going through my head. Yeah,
celebration.
Yeah, exactly. But Julia, do you think we've seen the best yet of Eza? Obviously, he's 9 games in now.
Yeah.
But he's clearly just trying to find his pace with Arsenal.
Yeah, and he moved position. Obviously now he's playing the Odegaard role, which is not the role that he had at Crystal Palace either. It's not the one that he started with at Arsenal when he was more on the left-hand side. So he's just still, I think, learning the patterns of play of this team and where you fit and where the ball is. And he's on the side of Saka, and Saka gets a lot of the ball, especially his relationship with Timber behind him. So all of that he has to take in consideration. But on the ball, you can see there's just no panic, isn't it? He's in control of everything. He's just so good. And you feel he's not far from just clicking and then after that being a really great asset for this team. But already in possession especially, he's been a good player.
Big reason why they're having such a good start to the season, why they are so fancy to go on and win it, Micah.
Yeah, I think Arsenal have been absolutely brilliant. I think in terms of Arsenal, what they can do, they can win in any way. Yes, we've talked about the set pieces. Yes, we've talked about defensively. But I actually think with Gyökeres, the way he stretches opposition to allow the likes of Eze and Saka to get involved, Martinelli running in behind, Trossard getting in them pockets as well. I just think they're a brilliant team to watch. Watching them in the Champions League against Atletico, I thought it was going to be 2 teams who sat back and it'd be very difficult. But they went there, expressed themselves. I told them a couple of weeks ago, or I thought, they had the handbrake on. They've taken the handbrake off now. And Arsenal, if they want it, it's certainly there for them.
Well, they have a chance to extend their lead at the top of the table today. Now, Liverpool, of course, fascinating what's going on there right now. 4 straight defeats in the Premier League. Manchester City lurking in third. This could be quite a pivotal weekend in many ways, Jamie.
Yeah, I think it could, because you look at Manchester City's game away at Aston Villa's not an easy game. I think if Arsenal can win today, you think of that daylight between themselves and Liverpool, but also Manchester City, if they don't get maximum points. And looking at Arsenal right now, they look by far the best team in this country right now. It's very early days, of course it is, but they need to capitalise on the situation they find themselves in with other clubs right now, because they could achieve a sizable lead in these early stages.
They do say we're not supposed to look at the table until 10 games in, but I tell you what, Sunderland fans are looking at it. Bournemouth fans are absolutely looking at it right now. They have a chance to climb as well today. Manchester City, though, Micah, you were pretty confident at the start of this season, and then very early, a little bit of a smack on the nose, losing at home to Spurs and then away at Brighton. What's the feeling now, though? 9 unbeaten.
Wolves, I remember doing that game, and there was outstanding. We talked about Reinders' energy in midfield. Man City struggle certainly on that transition. Then the Spurs game in Brighton, I thought it was back to Man City of last season. Then they went on this tremendous run. I still don't think they're quite at the very best, but they've got someone in Erling Haaland who's playing some of the best football of his life. And not just that. We know Haaland can score goals. It's the way he's scoring the goals. When teams are going into that low block, now he's finding that space. But if there's one team that could stop Arsenal, yeah, I would pick Man City.
And Jamie, would you say if there's one player, I think you have said this, there's one player that can stop Arsenal, it's Erling Haaland. He scored in 11 of these 12 games.
Yeah, listen, we all know this is not the best Manchester City team we've seen under Pep Guardiola, but right now he's the best player in the Premier League by a long distance, as Micah has just said. And yes, it's early days in the Premier League, but for me, right now, he's the only man who can stop Arsenal within the Premier League this season.
What do you see differently in his game now, Jamie? Because you and Alan eyes on the Mondays and all that sort of thing. He's always scored goals. He picked up an injury last season. What's different?
Listen, I don't think there's massive amounts that are different. Let's not forget his first season he came in. He scored a goal a game then. He's just back to those heights again. And I think sometimes, because Manchester City didn't have their best season last season, you'd almost forget about him in terms of talking about the best players in the world or the best goal scorers. But he's just back in terms of scoring goals. Manchester City look like the back as well. But the big thing when you look at those results, we're talking about Haaland's goals, how many clean sheets are there as well. That's very important for them.
Steak and raw milk. That's the secret.
Yes.
Are the Premier League champions Liverpool in crisis? And is there title defence already over? These are the questions being asked this morning after they lost a 4th straight game in the league. This time to Brentford, as they were undone by set pieces and long balls again. Arne Slot admits that it's one of the most disappointing results since he took over, and the stats are pretty damning. We'll bring you more on that in a moment.
Of course, you are hoping for a better result, but I was also hoping and expecting a better performance, because the performance was far from what we are used to. Even if we're losing, our performances have been better. It's hard to win a game of football if the other team wins more duels, more second balls than you, especially if that is also something they are playing off.
Do you think it's fair to say this is most disappointing to you, Boom?
Yeah, I think it's up there, yeah, in my time here in terms of losing a game of football.
So this is just how bad things have got for Slot this season. Liverpool became just the 4th reigning Premier League champions to lose 4 consecutive games after Leicester under Claudio Ranieri, Liverpool themselves with Jurgen Klopp, and Manchester City last season under Pep Guardiola. And none of those sides would retain their title. Now, we might still be in October, but Liverpool have equalled the number of defeats they suffered in the Premier League last season. Their previous 4 defeats came across a run of 47 matches. And since the start of May, Liverpool have conceded 2+ goals, so 9 times that is, in the Premier League. That is more than any other side. Perhaps even more worrying for Liverpool fans is that Arne Slot has admitted that he doesn't have an answer to the current issues.
I've said this many times already, that teams have a certain playing style against us, which is a very good strategy to play, and we haven't found that answer yet, and that every time going 1-0 down doesn't really help as well after 5 minutes. So it's a bit of that teams know which strategy to play against us. And yeah, it definitely also has to do with if you change quite a lot during the summer, then I think it's not a surprise that it can go a bit like this, but I didn't expect it to go with 4 losses in a row, let that be clear.
As for Brentford, well, it's back-to-back wins for them. They are up to 10th in the table.
I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I felt the teams were coming here and having a comfortable game. I really wouldn't. I can't be that head coach, manager, where you allow teams to dictate the game and come and have a stroll. It's a big result for the football club, I think, to beat the Premier League champions, but it's especially a big result because of maybe the nature around our next chapter as a football club.
Talk about Sunderland. It's the best start by a promoted side in the Premier League in some 17 years. You have to go back to Hull City in 08-09. Only 5 sides ever in Premier League history after a promotion from the second tier have amassed more points than Sunderland have over their opening 9 games. How did they go to Chelsea today, end up a goal down and come back and win it?
You know what? They had a go. They had a go.
And that's their season, isn't it?
Yeah, I see too many teams, they come up and they sit back and they defend and they try and nick something on the counter-attack. And when you come from the Championship to the Premier League, it's such a gulf. There's too much quality for teams not to break you down before the end of the game. And these have looked at it and gone, you know what, we'll weigh ourselves up. They're brilliant on the counter-attack. They've got legs all round the pitch. They defend well. Goalkeeper's good. They go 1-0 down, in 4 minutes? You think that'll be it? You started to put light bulbs in the scoreboard, do you know what I mean? After 1 minute, 4 minutes, 1-0. They didn't. They just opened the game up and they just went end to end. They get their goal back and they thoroughly deserved it.
What scoreboards are you looking at? We're beyond light bulbs, aren't we?
Yeah, I thought they'd put up 10 when they scored the first one. Then second half, can't remember Chelsea having a chance. They dominated, mainly dominated the game, but I'm sitting here thinking, I can't remember the goalkeeper at Sunderland making a save where I'd gone, wow. And that they were outstanding. I was so impressed. Chelsea were running out of ideas. They got winger after winger. Half of them don't go past anybody. Losing the ball. Pedro looked lost as a number 10. The lad, Gui, up front wasn't good enough to play up front in the Premier League at the moment, from my opinion. And I just thought Chelsea struggled. I thought they were pretty poor today. And in the end, a brilliant goal by Sunderland on the counter-attack. Gets lumped up front. They defended well, and the lad who comes on, Robbie, he holds it up, brilliant play, and he just rolls it back to the other sub, Talby, who bends it in the corner. 2 subs come on, they work their magic. Yeah, I was so impressed with Sunderland. There's absolutely no chance they're getting... I know it's a silly statement now. There's no chance of them getting relegated. They're going to cause teams problems. Xhaka sits in the middle of the midfield, ticks it all over, and there are legs left, right and centre in that team with quality as well.
And the priority for any manager coming up into the Premier League after a season or more seasons in the Championship is one is your home form. That's already very, very good for Sunderland. But it's to be competitive as well. I mean, they are way, way more than competitive at the moment, aren't they? As today's underlined.
Oh, well competitive. Whoever's... I mean, Tim might know who their director of football is, but whoever it is, they have bought amazingly well. Because they've come in and they've literally got rid of everybody and brought a new team in, virtually.
He's a young one,
He brought a new team in, and everybody, all of them can play. All of them. It's not like we're sitting... You know, how many teams... Look, we look at Man United and teams like that, and we go, my God, look at the players that they've wasted money on. These have come in Sunderland and gone bang, wallop, crash, and all of them look... They all look on top of their game.
And listen, we talked about this earlier, but you've got to give Régis Lebris a big pat on the back because, yeah, you can bring all these players in, but you've also got to make it work. Yes, it helps when they're talented, but you've got to find a winning tune. At the moment, in a short space of time, he's done that.
Oh, 100%, 100%. He's been outstanding. In a way, when I've watched him, it looks like he's let them go out and play and express themselves. Just like there's no fear factor. It's like go out and enjoy yourself, have a go. And the longer the game went on, the more nervous Chelsea got, the more hesitant they got, and the more confident Sunderland got. They defended well when they had to, and as I said, they break and they've got legs in their team, and they've got a bit of guile as well. They're not a bad rounded team. You know, they're going to cause problems to teams this season.
And the thing is, coming in today, you looked at today against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and Chelsea with this wonderful home record, just 1 defeat in the last 14 Premier League games at home. But then you looked at some of the games coming up after this. They've got Arsenal at home, Liverpool away, Man City away, Newcastle home. That's going to be absolutely massive. And Brighton away. But after today, they don't need to fear anyone, do they?
No, I looked at the fixtures and I thought, oh, Arsenal go to Sunderland in a couple of weeks. This was a couple of weeks ago. They'll beat them. This will be a difficult game now. It'll be a test. It will be a test. They've got enough points to look after themselves for the next 3 or 4 games that you rounded off. You know, they could lose them 4 games. Won't really make much difference because the teams at the bottom will lose all them 4 games to the big boys as well. So for me, they're going to have enough points now, but they're a dangerous football team. Well impressed with them today. With Chelsea, no, I wasn't. I thought they struggled. They need the lap back badly. They need a focal point. They need someone who's, you know, Gooey play up front, and I think he touched the ball 9 times, 10 times. You can't do that in a team that was supposed to be dominating at home with 75% of the ball.
Yes, what do you think the reason for, you know, sometimes Chelsea's performances are here, the next minute are there?
Got you, two young team, very young team. I think. I don't know what the oldest player would be in their team, 23, 24. When you get a young team, you're up here, you're down here. They have wingers that are very inconsistent. You know, Neto on his day will be outstanding the next minute. There's no 7.5s all the way through. It's either 8.5, 9 or 5s. Can't win Premier Leagues like that. They need a little bit of experience in there. They miss Thiago Silva, you know, with his experience. And I just think that's their problem. They're just going to be up and down. Hopefully they get top 4, but, you know, they've got to be better than that.
Gary Neville waiting to speak to us. Did you score 2 goals in a game, Gary, for Manchester United?
No, I scored 2 goals in consecutive weeks, or 1 and 1, which, does that count?
I'll give you that.
From right back, you'll take that, Gary.
Especially on the day you've been inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame as well. Does he look like a Manchester United player already, Mbeumo?
Yeah, I think Mbeumo and Cunha, I think the risk was removed from those signings in the sense that they've been in the Premier League before and they've got that hunger to deliver at a different level. There was a lot of things about those signings that you felt more comfortable with, and I think that when I look at United now with Mbeumo, I think Mbeumo looks like he belongs, he looks hungry, he looks like he wants to score goals. It wasn't quite happening for him and Cunha in the first maybe 4 or 5 matches when, you know, they were getting into the positions, they always wanted the ball, but they weren't maybe taking their chances. But I think Manchester United have got something to build on. If those two can stay up front and live up front in those spaces, and the other 8 or 9 players in the team can just be the foundation for them and sort of keep more clean sheets and defend well, those two will win a lot of football matches for this club.
Of course, new ground that we're treading here under Ruben Amorim. Does this feel particularly significant, Gary? 3 on the bounce?
I think it does. I think that it feels like his best week in the job. The week where I think that, look, where he's been, and I think where we've all been with it, I wouldn't have been surprised. We were talking about him losing his job, and I was thinking he was under massive pressure after going into the international break in October. I felt as though that change could be imminent, but the victory at Anfield, and it shows you how things can turn around. And then obviously this was so important today. Look, he's not out of the woods yet, and it's certainly not a time to get carried away. But I think Manchester United are now where they thought they probably would be. They'll slip down a couple of places after the rest of the teams play, and they'll end up in 6th or 7th. But that's where I think everyone thought they would be. So, look, this has been a very important week for the manager and for the club. And you could see the celebration at the end there was more than just a little bit, I think, of relief that, yeah, we needed this badly.
Gary, Jamie, one of the big things that struck me in these performances, these last 3 games, certainly has been almost how much heart, desire that they've shown. And it looks like a team that the fans can now almost get behind as well.
Yeah, one thing, Jamie, is I think that a few weeks ago I was a little bit worried that the players didn't believe in Ruben Amorim's system, that maybe there was an element of them not winning matches and starting to question it and listen to the noise that all of us, including myself, had added to that. However, one thing that's been absolutely not in doubt when you speak to people in and around the club is that the players really like him as a person, and that does count for a lot. Because I think there's no doubt he's not lost the dressing room in terms of spirit and energy and how they feel towards him. So I think they want to play for him. They're desperate to win, and I think you've seen that coming together a little bit in the last week. I mean, winning at Anfield in any season is special, but for Ruben Amorim to win at Anfield when it was so unexpected, I think just has given them such a big lift. But look, we'll look forward to the game next week against Nottingham Forest, Tottenham away the week after. There's still a big job to do in this month, but I felt as though it was a month of reckoning. And if it had started badly last week at Liverpool, it could have gone a different way, but it feels very different. It feels like the momentum's with them a little bit and the spirit's good.
So what questions do you still have, Gary?
I suppose consistency. It's been a team and a club that you can't really rely on for so long. So the idea of winning 2 or 3 matches doesn't take that away. You can't sort of build that trust back in an instant. So that's still not there. But I think that there's something happening there that, I think the front two, I've just mentioned them. You've got something if you can keep that back 5 compact, and amongst them there's some decent defenders, half-decent defenders. That back 5 can just stay solid, and the midfield in front, let them 2 up front go and do what they do. I think it can be sort of a recipe for Manchester United to have a decent season and to get into the top 6. There's question marks against Sesko. I think that he obviously was a bigger risk of a signing and a lot more of an unknown. He doesn't quite look like he's settled in yet. So it'll be nice, I think, if he can start to look. It starts to look like a front 3. It does feel still like a front 2 with him stood up there. I think that's the big job over the next couple of weeks.
Is that just a question of goals with him, with Sesko, Gary, do you think? Is that all he needs, or is it more the build-up play, the way he sort of he plays with those other 2?
No, it's more than the goals. It's the inclusion within the actual combinations that you see from the others. I mean, you see Bruno Fernandes and Mount, who wasn't playing today, but you see those 2 linking very successfully with Mbeumo and Cunha. You don't quite see Sesko being part of that mix yet. He's not sort of got up to speed and the pace of it, of how quickly they're playing with each other. So he needs to get his game up to speed. That'll only come through time, and obviously he's still quite young. But he just does need to get there because, he's a big signing still. It's 80 million. If they can become a front 3, then obviously that will be a huge step. At the moment, it feels to me like a 2 with another guy stood up there occupying space.
Manchester United finally have back-to-back wins under Ruben Amorim, but can they make it 3 on the bounce against Brighton on the Saturday night football? It'll be a massive day for Bruno Fernandes as he makes his 300th appearance for the club, and today Amorim has revealed just what an influence Bruno is at the club.
What I was expecting, everything you read about the player sometimes is not that. You can understand sometimes they're already spoke about that. The frustration that he feels is because he wants to help a lot the teammates. Sometimes it's not the best way, but he comes from a good place, and you don't know that when you are not here. He wants the responsibility all the time. He suffered a lot with the losses. Every time we don't win a game, you can feel it, that he take it personally, as you should be as a captain. He's a great leader, a great footballer. Let's see if he's going to reach that mark tomorrow.
Well, speaking on his future amid reports that he could leave next summer, right? So Bruno has said, as I've always said, I feel good here. I want to achieve my dreams still, but obviously I can't talk by the side of the club. I've seen a lot of news. I've seen people talking that I had an agreement to go already next season. Now, if the club has done that agreement, it wasn't made with me. He goes on to say, my agent knows how I work, so if he wants to talk to me, it will be after the World Cup, because until then, I won't speak to anyone. I like that. Yeah. Not speaking to anyone until the World Cup. I like that he's putting a message out there to speak to his own agent. I've never seen that one before. But look, Ash, you know, when it comes to Bruno, should United try and keep Bruno Fernandes at their club at all costs?
Yep, definitely. I think he's dragged them through all these hard times. I think I think the manager nails it. Sometimes it's so frustrating watching him because he does so much and it kind of pulls the team out. But I do think it's for the right reasons. I do think he tries to lead by example always. He always wants the ball, maybe too much at times where he can be a bit ill-disciplined within the shape that Amorim wants. But why would you let someone like that go? I don't think he's a top quality midfield player, one of the best in the league. They would be silly, I think, in the position they're in, to let Bruno Fernandes go. I don't think he wants to go necessarily. He's kind of stuck by Manchester United. He always comes out, he always fronts it up, even through the tough times. And it would be a big blow for the club if he went.
As you said, do you not think if he is causing that little bit of disruption within the formation, within the tactics, who's at fault for that then? Is it the manager or is it him?
Well, it's probably a little bit of both, but I think it's his eagerness to affect the game, and he breaks position too early possibly, so he can't play in one of the two deeper roles, and he doesn't quite fit the 10s because he wants to drop back and get the ball. So that's a problem, but that's for the coach, I think. So that's if you've got a player that can't perform and doesn't have the ability to perform in that. I think he does. He's got to be a little bit more disciplined. So it's for the coach to explain to him and show, look, you've left your position too early there, which causes a problem for everybody else, or whatever it might be. Just show him, and I'm sure he'll get the gist of it. But that's what I see with Bruno Fernandes in that Manchester United team. He's so eager to get a goal or to press, or sometimes it's a foul that he gives away and it's frustration, and everybody's like, why has he done that? He's the captain. Well, he feels it he's feeling the pressure and he's trying to affect the game.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, Julian, I know you love your fantasy football. Yeah. He is the most frustrating player ever because you always want to put him in and it just doesn't quite come off. I mean, do you think he's still such a key part to this United team?
Yeah, I think he is, and to go back to his positioning and where he's being used, I think this is not his best position. He should be better. He would be better as one of the 2 10s behind whoever the striker. But they have nobody as good passer as him. That's why he has to play deeper next to Casemiro or Ugarte or whoever. That double pivot is so important in a Ruben Amorim system and formation that you need him there, but you also would need him as a 10 closer to the opposition box. That's where he influences the game so much. That's why he hasn't scored enough or even assisted enough so far this season. That's the conundrum that I think Amorim has. Ideally, he would use him as a 10, but right now he has to use him in that double pivot because there's just nobody else as good as him in that position.
Hi, Ruben. The next challenge is Brighton. How are the squad and what are you expecting from Brighton tomorrow?
The squad is fine. We have some doubts. We had some issues during the week with Harry Maguire and Mason Mount, knocks, but nothing serious. We will see tomorrow. Leach is out. The rest is ready for the game. I think it's going to be, like always, but it's going to be a very difficult game. I think it's a team. Brighton is a team really fun to watch. They are really good on build-up. They are really strong on transitions in every aspect of the game. They are doing well in set pieces this season. So I think they are a team that it's really complete. And we need to be really smart and to face that game with a real focus on everything that we do because they are a very strong team.
And Fabian Hürzeler, his philosophy and the way he coaches that team.
You can see by the way they play the game. Really intense. The quality is there. They believe a lot on what they are doing, even under pressure. So I'm a huge fan of Fabian.
Hi, Ruben. How do you balance the need to forget the Liverpool game while also maintain, building momentum from it?
Yeah, we use the good spirit of winning games. We know that was a good weekend for us, but our focus is in the next game. That is in the past, and we need to understand that football changed a lot, especially in this kind of club. So we are not thinking in the last game. We are thinking on this game is going to be really hard to win.
Unless you've got a surprise up your sleeve, we're expecting Bruno Fernandes to make his 300th appearance tomorrow. What can you say about him as a person, a player? Has he surpassed your expectations since you arrived?
I think it's a little bit different. What I was expecting, everything you read about the player sometimes is not that. You can understand sometimes, and I already spoke about that. The frustration that he feels is because he wants to help a lot the teammates. Sometimes it's not the best way, but he comes from a good place, and you don't know that when you are not here. He wants the responsibility all the time. He suffered a lot with the losses. Every time we don't win a game, you can feel it that he take it personally, as you should be as a captain. He's a great leader, a great footballer. Let's see if he's going to reach that mark tomorrow.
Ruben, in the last two wins, it feels like they've been slightly different wins. What has impressed you the most about maybe how much the team's improved compared to last?
I think it's the first thing we were. Again, really focus on during the game. Then we play different games. So we have one identity, one way of playing, but we adapt what kind of game we need to play in the moment. And you can sense that the first half against Sunderland was not the same as the second half. We know how to manage that. And then against Liverpool, of course, we scored right away in the first play. And then we managed the game playing in the different style because was needed in that moment. That is a good thing. And then the spirit. And sometimes when you have a good spirit, you have that bit of luck that we need to win games.
Just wanted to ask you about Harry as well. He's scored so many important goals for you since arriving at the club. I know you also had to speak to Jason that his contract's up next summer. Would you like him to stay at the club?
We are really happy with Harry. It's not the time to talk about that again, because that gives the idea that we are thinking so far away. We are really happy with Harry. He's really important for us, but we need to focus on the next game.
Ruben, you said Lisandro's not fit. Do you know when he's likely to be fit? Could that be before the next lot of internationals? Will it be after?
I don't know. He trained really well, not with us, but he was on the next pitch, and then I was watching also the training. He's feeling well, then he's responding really well. So I don't want to say one specific day or 1 week. I don't know, but he's near to start the training with the team, and then depends of the rhythm of Licha if he wins the place or not. That will depend on him, but he's closer to return to trainings.
Just on Sunday after the game, I know you had a smile on your face, but you said the media should carry on with their narrative. Does the team feed from that when people doubt you because people have doubted you? Does that help?
What I mean is that we cannot change so much. I think they asked me about top 4 in the end of the question, so I don't want to change so much with the difference of 20 centimeters. If Gakpo shot 20 centimeters here, the narrative would be completely different. So I just want to maintain some calm, some direction in what we are doing. That's what I mean. there is doubts if you are a manager in this kind of club. You don't win a lot of games. People are going to doubt you, and they have reasons for that. But my point of view is that we need to be clear on our path and not changing so much because we win one game. That's all.
Hi, Ruben. It's probably the first time I've been in a press conference since you walked through the door at Manchester United, not being asked about your system. Yeah. It obviously comes down to winning the last 2 games. Well, I wanted to touch on Harry Maguire and his form and how he's turned his career around at Manchester United. That must please you a lot.
Yes, I think it was good for him to play with the 3 centre-backs. I think he feels more comfortable. He can play, he doesn't need, because he plays in the centre, he doesn't need to go to the side so much. So sometimes you help some players with the way you play. Sometimes it's the opposite with some players. So I'm really pleased. I think he's not young, but he can learn a lot. He can improve. I think he can be so much better with the ball because he has that quality. And he needs to show that. And nowadays, with the set pieces that you see, the amount of men that you put in the box, every cross from the opponents, and everyone is playing like that, he's a massive player for us. So I'm really happy. But he needs to continue. That game is in the past. That goal is in the past. Let's move for the present and the future.
Now to the main event, the moment we've all been waiting for. Jamie, you had social media firing after your last appearance on Sky Sports Fan Club on Tuesday, mainly focused around your comments on Arsenal. For anyone who hasn't seen it yet, here's a taste of what we're talking about.
Arteta's won nothing. He
has won the FA Cup.
He's won the FA Cup when he first got there, but, come on. What's he won recently with the team that is meant to win stuff? Let's not put Arteta in a bracket of being one of the best managers in the world. He's not. The top teams doing long throw-ins. But I can't believe what I'm watching. It's all down to Arsenal. Arsenal started this. Arsenal started the long throw, the set pieces. They've killed the Premier League in terms of, fluid football.
How worried are you that this is Arsenal's season?
I'm getting there, Tom. The worry's coming. It's starting to set in. I might have to come to terms with the fact that Arsenal might do it.
By the way, that little clip there, I'm just looking at the rundown. The producers have called it the O'Hara Mega Mix.
The Mega Mix.
The Mega Mix.
There's a few out there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of eagle-eyed people.
The worry's coming, Tom. The worry's coming.
Your pictures changed on the big wall there behind. Right, you can see that we've got some Arsenal fans there. So Jamie's in the blue corner. We've got Arsenal fans in the red corner. It's Luke Henry, or Luke Henry, as we called him last week, and Scarlett Cat Roberts to defend their club. Right, Luke, I know you know Jamie well. Was he right the other day?
Well, just firstly, I saw the stick and twist picture. I think the last picture does you the world of good, Jamie. So next time, I think that should be your picture.
With the face paint.
No, seriously, on the subject, I think I understand why you did it, Jamie. I saw your argument, and then you flawed your argument by saying that Glasner's a better manager, even though they've won the same trophies. Now, whether he's a top 10 manager in the world or not, that's a conversation for people to have. But what I can tell you that he's an elite manager. And the reason why I say that is because I like to listen to what the managers say and the ex-professionals or the professionals in the game right now. And when you've got like Thomas Frank calling him one of the best teams in the world, when Pep Guardiola said he was ready to manage, when Chris Wilder was talking about on a podcast about trying to bully Arsenal and then realised you couldn't do that. And then earlier in the week, you see Gary O'Neill talking about how he's so complete in every facet of the game. That shows elite coaching. And also, I think you saw that on Tuesday against Atletico. If you look at the goals we scored, yes, one was from a set piece. So we've got that different style of play. But also, the second goal is still the DNA of beautiful Arsenal. So what Arteta has done, he's looked at Arsene Wenger, he's looked at Pep Guardiola, he's looked at David Moyes. And what he's created is a massive culture of philosophies and identities that makes him an elite coach. So any game we play, any style of football match, we can now compete. I mean, look at the record that we've got. In the Champions League home stage, in this league phase, we've played 9 times, scored 27 goals and haven't conceded a single goal. We've got 3 goals conceded in all competitions. That's the best in our club history. So this is a manager that is an elite coach. And he's more than just what he does on the pitch, Jamie. It's what he does in the dressing room as well. And you're nodding your head there.
No, look, honestly, mate, you're chatting absolute garbage.
Well, I'm not. Think about it.
You are. Look, I get it. He's an elite manager. No one's denying that Arteta's not an elite coach. He's an elite coach. But you Arsenal fans kicked up a massive stink about me saying that he wasn't a top 10 manager because Mourinho come out and said he's the best manager in the world. Well,
I gave a fair argument, right? There's 10 managers who are better than him, who are elite coaches as well, by the way, and you're missing one big, massive thing.
Go on.
They've won trophies. Multiple trophies, multiple big trophies, league titles, winners, Club World Cup, winners, Europa League, winners, Champions League, winners. That's the difference. I'm not saying Arteta's not an elite coach, but you can't put him in a top 10 just because he's a good manager.
You put 15 up there, Jamie, didn't you? 15 ahead of him. And by the way, on Glasgow, he hasn't just won the FA Cup, he has won he's won in Europe as well. But all of those, Jamie, you're not going to back down on any of those?
Of course. I mean, how can I back down? Look, how can I back down on any of them? I'm not saying that Arteta's not a brilliant manager. He's a really good manager. Next year, if he wins the double, Premier League, Champions League, put him in there, no problem, because he's proved it. But you can't put a manager in the top 10 and start talking about him as being the best manager in the world when you haven't won nothing. We are talking about some of the greatest managers in the world there. Pep Guardiola, don't even put him in the same breath as Mikel Arteta. All right, Mikel Arteta's doing a really good job. Arsenal are a good team. You ain't won nothing yet, so let's not talk about being better. And that's all I said. And you Arsenal fans that get so angry about it, he's a good manager, but he ain't a top 10 manager in the world.
Scarlett, you come in there. Luca will come back to you in a moment.
I think we're quite lucky that you're not a manager. Arteta's so tactically flexible, and the truth is that smaller teams have got better playing against bigger teams. So what's he going to do? Is he going to just say, "Oh, we shouldn't play this way because Jamie O'Hara doesn't like it"? You look for every single marginal gain you can find to win. That's what makes good managers. And it's true, he hasn't won yet. He has won the FA Cup. But Arsenal are in the mix year on year, and you might say that that's rubbish. But the margins between winning and losing are as thin as Son going through on goal and missing. And I don't know, were you happy about Son missing then?
Yeah, over the moon. Brilliant miss. It's a great save.
That's my point.
Great save.
It's kind of arbitrary, isn't it? Arsenal good. You're worried about Arsenal. We have exceptional quality.
Scarlett, Arsenal are the best at what they do. That's why they're top. I'm not taking anything away from what Arsenal do. Set pieces, they're amazing. Defensively, they're amazing. Organised, they're amazing. But it ain't a great watch. And everyone else is copying what Arsenal are doing. And that's credit to what Arteta's done and what Arsenal are doing. But in my opinion, it's killing what I want to watch. The product of what I want to watch, of good football, fluid football, making things happen. Arsenal are the best. But no one else is good enough. I watch people take long throws. They ain't even got long throw. But I'm not saying Arsenal ain't good at it, but I'm saying it's boring to watch.
Well, I think that's slightly unfair in relation to this season. I get there's not a massive sample size, but I think a lot of that idea is based on last season when we were catastrophically struck by an unbelievable amount of injuries and ended up with Mikel Merino up front. So it's going to kind of affect how you're going to play going forward, and still we finished second. This season, I'm not actually sure what the numbers are right now, but I feel like in the last few games we've underperformed our XG. We are creating a lot more. You've been critical of Victor Gyökeres. He's creating space for other players. It is different this season. Luke mentioned we scored 2 goals from set pieces against Atletico, but we scored a glorious goal from open play and another quite ugly one. The variation is there, and that's what's important. I think arguably Arsenal are the best at playing in all ways that you've just mentioned, both defensively and going forward.
By the way, in Jamie's defence, as a manager, he has got 4 trophies under his belt at the club he managed. So
yeah, well, got a few, yeah.
But look, in terms of going back to that, the 15 managers that Jamie had ahead of Arteta at this stage, I don't think even Glasner was on there, but Unai Emery was on it. Okay, and given what he has won at various clubs in Europe, would you swap Arteta for Emery?
No, I absolutely wouldn't. And the reason why is because managers, it's such a difficult thing to do, and different styles and different philosophies and cultures and fits for different teams, right? It would be a bit boring if every manager can walk in and work. That's why you've seen changes at Nottingham Forest, for example. But Unai Emery, for us, he just didn't understand that You know, some of the changes he used to make during the game used to baffle us. He used to make this change where he used to take off Kieran Tierney and Kolasinac and swap them every week. It's the same type of manager we saw like Mesut Ozil and Aaron Ramsey on the bench every week. It just didn't work. But that's not to say he's not an unbelievable manager in the job he's done with Aston Villa and the CV. But if you're asking me who's got a better CV, it's obviously Unai Emery. But people forget this is Mikel Arteta's first managerial job and he's learning along the way. And what he's done, and I know people are going to throw in, he's spent a lot of money. He has spent a lot of money. But so have Spurs in that time, so have Chelsea in that time, and so have Manchester United. And the way you look at that is by how much the squad value is now worth.
Man United have won trophies, and so have Tottenham. Just let you know that.
But are you happy with your team? But are you happy with your team? Because it doesn't sound like you are. You know, I saw you earlier, and it doesn't sound like you're happy with the style of play, and you don't want to give Thomas Frank 5 minutes in the job. So, I know the one
he's never said that.
No, I've never said that.
Said that.
No,
but
Thomas Frank I like.
But you're already criticising him already, and he's been there 5 minutes. You know, we've seen Arteta develop and progress, but you have to give managers time. And I think in football, it's such a hypocrisy because we all want results, we all want a stable team with an environment. But as soon as even like Liverpool, you know, I've been hearing Liverpool fans saying, "Is Arne Slot the guy?" It's ridiculous. He's just lost 4 games. It's ridiculous. But the one I was struck at is Enzo Maresca, and I think that's where the context lies because we weren't in the Club World Cup, we weren't poor enough to be in the Conference League, but just because of the trophy discourse and he's won 2 trophies, he's automatically a better coach than Arteta. Now, there's probably Chelsea fans.
But how did you get on against in the Champions League, PSG?
Yeah, we lost.
You lost.
But,
how did Maresca get on in the final?
So that's the difference.
They won. That's the difference. He won. You lost.
Okay, so that's the fine margin of being a better coach. So we take everything, all the context out of it.
I'm just raising the argument. Maresca's a Club World Champion.
Right. So by that logic, then we beat Atletico Madrid 4-0. Yeah. Atletico Madrid beat Real Madrid 5-2. So are you saying that Arteta is on the same as Alonso just because because of the fact he's won the?
No, but Maresca's won a trophy.
So that's my point. It's so there is no real logic or substance to the conversation. It's because you've won a trophy.
No, but you just don't like to admit it. You don't like to. Arteta's a really good manager, and he is. He's a brilliant manager. But these managers have won trophies. They've won trophies.
Arteta has won it.
As Luke was saying, if you were a player, where would you most think that you're likely to win going in the Premier League? Which dressing room would you want to walk into
Liverpool,
right now?
Man City.
Even in the situations they're in, I think honestly,
because they're proven winners.
I'm not a player, but
because
I
they're
think
champions.
But what's happening to them now? Like you've got managers in those situations, various different contexts. Guardiola potentially at the end of his career there, Slot having a really rough second season, and then you have Arteta, who's maybe a bit linked in, maybe a bit like lame with his light bulbs. But the fact is, I look at those players and I look at that team. They're really happy. They work really hard for each other, and they desperately want to win. And in terms of like a culture,
so do Liverpool and Man City.
Well, I don't know what's going on.
And they have won.
They won their game last night. Their team still looks unbalanced. They beat a very poor opposition in Frankfurt. Like. I think in terms of Arteta's broader endorsement by other people, Luke mentioned other managers saying he's a great coach. You can take that with a pinch of salt depending on why they want to flatter him. But our best centre-back and arguably one of our most important players just signed a new contract. Why would he do that if he didn't think Arsenal are going to win?
Well, because he loves being at Arsenal. I'm not taking anything away from Arsenal. They're a brilliant football club. You asked me where I'd want to go if I wanted to win trophies. I told you, Liverpool, Man City.
OK, Jamie, Scarlett, Luke, thank you very much indeed. Speak to you again soon.
Luke, see you tonight.
See you, mate. See you in a bit.
We can go live now to Anfield, where our reporter Vinny O'Connor could bring us some more reaction to that win. Vinny, good morning to you. How much did Liverpool need that after recent results?
I think they did well as much as anything. There was that history element to it, wasn't it? The fact that Liverpool had not lost 5 consecutive games since 1953, and the fact that they went a goal behind, and you look at their fragile confidence, if you like, given that run of games, that they'd had. To respond the way they did was pretty impressive. Ultimately, I think there's still things that obviously Arne Slot would like to iron out, and again it goes back to defensive frailties, but the fact is that they were clinical last night compared to the game against Manchester United, of course, where they weren't able to take their chances, and you saw that particularly with that first goal from Hugo Ekitike. Lovely ball from Andy Robertson, Ekitike's great first touch and a clinical finish as well. 2 set pieces. I think Arne Slot would be happy with that. He made the point after the game actually how happy he was that they'd scored a set piece, given that they had been conceding them as well. Good header from Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate. The last time the pair of them scored in the same game, of course, was away against Inter Milan. Was away in Milan, I should say, last season in the Champions League, of course. So, and then you saw the fact that Florian Wirtz was able to get an assist on that. I'd give it 2 assists, to be fair, because he played the square ball for Dominik Szoboszlai, who, of course, fired home from outside the penalty area as well. And ultimately, it was a good night. There was that disappointing element to it, of course, the injuries, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that, Will, as well. But ultimately, Liverpool needed to get back on track, and they were able to do that emphatically away in Frankfurt.
A great result, Vinny, and it did come at a cost, though, didn't it? I think it's fair to say that Alexander Isak's time in a Liverpool shirt has yet to really get firing, and he came off at the break. What can you tell the Liverpool fans watching this morning about an injury to the Swede?
Well, Arne Slot confirmed that it wasn't good news after the game, of course, and looking at it as a whole, obviously Liverpool have been pretty careful with Alexander Isak since he arrived at the club, because he had little or no pre-season because of that protracted move from Newcastle United, and they were being very careful with him and how they introduced him in terms of minutes and building up his fitness, because of course they were trying to fit in effectively a mini pre-season whilst playing him in games as well. And ultimately now it seems he's going to face a bit of a spell on the sidelines, because after the game Arne Slot confirmed that Alexander Isak has picked up a groin injury, and obviously that's not good news now for the striker.
You feel like, yeah, there must be a moment where he can play twice a week, and the first time we try, he did this in Sweden as well, but the first time we try, he has to go off. And let's hope that is not that bad, but he has to go off because he felt his groin. So yeah, many people probably wanted me to play him more, and we had to find the balance, and unfortunately today that balance didn't work out for us perfectly, but let's hope for the best.
Jeremy Frimpong, Vinny, also forced off with an injury last night in Germany. Liverpool signed a lot of players, didn't they, over the summer, but they also let a lot go as well. Is there a concern, Vinny, over the size of that squad depth, with some massive games to come now for Liverpool?
Yeah, I was looking at it when you talk about massive games to come. Yes, of course, they got Brentford at the weekend. Then, of course, it's Palace in the Cup, followed by Villa, Madrid in the Champions League here at Anfield. Then it's City away, that massive game against Manchester City on the 9th of November before Forest at Anfield. And yeah, Jeremy Frimpong being injured just adds to the injury worries in that back line at the moment, doesn't it? Of course, there is cover at the moment. There's Connor Bradley, who came on last night. Joe Gomez can obviously play right back as well as centre-half, but they're already without Giovanni Leone for the season with that ACL injury. At the moment, Ryan Gravenberch is out with that twisted ankle. He's another one who can fill in at centre-half, of course, but Liverpool would rather he be available to provide that defensive screen in the midfield, of course, so we still await just how long he's going to be out. You'd think it's not too long with a twisted ankle for Ryan Gravenberch, but that maybe shows a little bit about the depth. I mean, there's plenty of options in that midfield. We saw it again last night, of course. But yes, Arne Slot has spoken about the injury situation that they're facing at the moment after last night's game, and obviously for him, or for his point of view, it's far from ideal.
With Alisson being out, with Giovanni Leone being out, I expect Jeremy Frimpong definitely to be out now for a few weeks. Expect, not sure, but expect. And let's wait and see how it is with Alex. And although people like to talk about us thinking that we have 25 to 30 first-team players, when we play 11v11 on a training session, we almost always need 1 or 2 players from the under-21. So
obviously, as I say, far from ideal for Jeremy Frimpong. It's been a real stop-start to his Anfield career and those injury woes that Arne Slot's speaking about. Just a little bit worrying for Liverpool. We'll go through those next 6 fixtures once again. Brentford, obviously, at the weekend. Then it's Palace in the EFL Cup. Villa, followed by Madrid at Anfield in the Champions League. That massive game against Manchester City away on the 9th of November. And then Forest at home. Under new management, of course, under Sean Dyche knows a thing or two about Anfield, of course, as a former Everton manager. So a big few weeks coming up for Liverpool once again, and those injuries are far from ideal for them.
Vinny, thank you very much. Well, Mohamed Salah played just 16 minutes as a substitute once Liverpool had established a 4-goal lead last night against Frankfurt. It's the second time that he started on the bench this season and never was used as a substitute in either the Premier League or the Champions League for Slot last campaign.
There are questions for Liverpool at the weekend against Brentford as to what team they go with, because I think at some point you're going to expect that Slot begins to settle a bit more on who his first choice 11 is. Salah has played too much football over the past year. He was ever present pretty much for Liverpool last season. Their go-to man, the man they relied upon to win them the title effectively, alongside Van Dijk at the back. So I think he might have, at his age, I think that might be something he's still feeling. And I think to dip him out of the side for a little bit wouldn't necessarily hurt.
Think about them today, because obviously Tony mentioned 73 years it's been since they lost 5 on the bounce. It was a little bit worrying, wasn't it, when Frankfurt scored first there?
Wasn't a great start from them to go 1-0 down, but give credit to Frankfurt, it was a well-worked goal. When you talk about playing through pressure, the bravery and getting into that midfield pass, Liverpool's midfield couldn't recover at all. They went 1-0 down, but they come back into it. And for me, I think probably it's more about Ekitike. He has been their most impactful signing in this window. He wasn't the name that everyone was associating with Liverpool when the transfer window was open. It was all about Isak. Ekitike was a bit of a surprise when he came in, but he's risen to the occasion because the goal he took, it wasn't an easy goal. And Grella will tell you, when you run with the ball from your inside your own half as a striker and you're running, you've got to go the whole length of the pitch and then recompose yourself in that vital moment, keeping in control. He showed all of that. And for me, I feel disappointed for him that he didn't start in that big game against Manchester United, because I felt that he should be the one that's in the team. But overall, the performance for Liverpool was get a win. They needed to get a reaction after losing to Manchester United, their greatest rival, and that's what they did today. And I won't say to get too high or too low, because the reality of it is, without being no disrespectful, Frankfurt didn't really challenge them as much. Very small moments. But it isn't a game you can reflect on too much, because Frankfurt have been just hemorrhaging goals anyway domestically in the Bundesliga. But it was a win to get the confidence back, do the right things. You got Van Dijk getting on the score sheet as well, captain who was criticised for his performance. Good win.
Yeah, Arne Slot made some big decisions as well. For the first time since 2017, Mo Salah didn't start back-to-back Champions League matches for Liverpool. Is it turning out now, Grella, do you think, to be the right decision for Liverpool? This is a look at their attack. I mean, he's got an embarrassment of riches, really, hasn't he, to choose from?
Yeah, he does there, and I don't even see Chiesa on there, by the way, who's been one of their top players. But Gakpo, Isak, Ekitike, Wirtz, Salah, all fantastic players. And I think sometimes, like for Mo Salah, it's okay. It's okay to rest a weekend. It's okay to play in the next game. It's okay. They're going to have so many important games. They come thick and fast from now to the end of the season. So I wouldn't look too much into it. Will he see it like that, though? Or will he see it as them going in a different direction? I'm sure he will, with his experience and his age, that, you know, Frankfurt away is not necessarily the Champions League final either. I think that the guys on that sheet could get that job done. So in some ways, it was almost bad that Frankfurt scored first, because then Liverpool was like, okay, let's go, let's get on the same page, and then obviously 5-1, a pretty big result. So they've got so much quality. For sure, there's an element to their game right now, though, that's a little shaky. You lose 4 games on the bounce, something that if they would have lost the 5th, you said 72 years, right?
I think 73, right?
73 years, whatever.
Yeah, it's a long time either way, right?
So there's an element there that maybe not Arne Slot could even put his finger on at the moment, that Liverpool is missing in some of these moments. But Frankfurt, I think there was never a worry for Liverpool tonight.
I wouldn't read too much into the Mo Salah thing unless we see this as habitual, moving down the line, right? We see a couple games in a row where it's still Mo Salah, right? And sometimes, you guys know, right, just a rest. You need a day where it's not completely on your shoulders and you get rejuvenated a little bit. I would think for Arne Slot, it's hard. and really hard not to write Mo Salah's name on the team sheet, right? Because of what he's done. He's built so much equity. But at the end of the day, you also have to worry about winning and what the best team for that day is to win. So when you look at it at face value at 5-1, you have to say, okay, Arne Slot pushed all the right buttons today, right? I don't know if he's the kind of manager that has a conversation with Mo Salah. We don't have that because last year, from day one, it was cruise control for Liverpool, all the way up until Champions League, right, when they end up getting knocked out. So we never had to see Arne Slot when things weren't going well, where he had to deal with Mo Salah maybe. We've never seen this side of him in the Premier League.
And we didn't think we were going to have to either, Nige, because they won the first 7, didn't they, to start this new campaign. But they've got Brentford at the weekend. If you're Arne Slot, which front 3 would you go with?
I think I'd have to start at Ekitike, but basically I would say what Grella said. Quality is not a problem. The chemistry is the problem. It's finding the right team that fits. With the whole Mo Salah situation for me is, we have to be honest about the situation. He hasn't been performing to the levels we've seen him. So sometimes as a manager, you have to make big decisions. Xabi Alonso's gone to Real Madrid. He's made big decisions. It used to be Vinicius Jr., and he's had no problem putting Vinicius Jr. on the bench. This is what comes when you're in the top 1% of footballing clubs. The manager who comes in there has to put on his big boy pants, and you have to make big decisions, but you have to base your decisions on performances and what you've seen. Mo Salah hasn't been performing. He has been a bit of a weakness in this Liverpool side, and you talk about both fullbacks are struggling. I think it's a chemistry thing. I think one person for me definitely that should be starting is Ekitike. I think he's been the most impactful signing that has come to Liverpool where he deserves the right to start. Alexander Isak, issues with how he left Newcastle to get there. Not having a pre-season. Not having a pre-season is one of the hardest things to go through as a player, and I've experienced it. It is horrible. It takes a long time to get back to that high level, and by that time, the game's passed you by. And that has been a big disruptive element of him, not just for Liverpool, but also internationally for Sweden. So whether the whole thing of the price tag he has to start, Florian Wirtz came on today, the physicality of the Premier League is becoming a problem to him. He got an assist today, showed what he can do. That's what he needs to have, that mindset going into the Premier League. He needs to say, right, I might be a little bit lightweight in the physical element of it, but every time I get the ball, I will make something happen. And that's what he'll be judged on. If he's creating a lot more chances for his team and scoring goals, what we saw him do for Leverkusen, then the fans will kind of come off him a bit.
Yeah, speaking of scoring goals, Hugo Ekitike, you mentioned him scoring against his former club. Here he is speaking after the match in Germany.
You lit this stadium up so many times as a Frankfurt player. What was it like to score here as a Liverpool player so soon after you left?
You know, I had to. It was a great feeling. Obviously, it was something special today for me to come back. I would say at home. You know, I know everybody's here, so it was a special game for me. And obviously, win, that was important, and score my first goal also in Champions League. I'm really happy.
When you're one-on-one like that with only the keeper to beat, talk us through what you're thinking.
I just keep it cool, calm, you know. I do what I can do. I knew he will come and he will open the legs, so I tried just to put between the legs, and that worked. So yeah, that was good.
Oh, good night for him. He didn't celebrate, obviously, because he has so much respect for Frankfurt. Arne Slot said after the game, just an update on Alexander Isak, that he did come out with a groin injury. So maybe we're not going to get to see that partnership maybe in the near future after all, Tony.
Yeah, and it might come down to what Nigel was just talking about, preseason, right? Because you missed the ramping up period. You missed the building of yourself. Now you got to go from 0 to 60, right? Because now you're playing games and you're playing at the highest level. So they'll monitor that. You would like to think that, well, first you hope it's not serious. You'd like to think, though, if once he gets fit, the guy's a great player. Right, we've seen it time and time again. How quickly can Arne Slot just integrate him into this side, which was always going to be hard, right? It was going to be hard, right? Especially Ekitike comes first and has a great start to the season. There were Liverpool fans saying, do we even need Isak at that point, right? Yeah. But Ekitike got injured for a couple of games, and now you're like, well, we got to fill that in. So he's got a lot of things to work on, Arne Slot. This is a real challenge for him right now.
We'll see what happens this weekend against Brentford.
Game season defining.
I think I like what Tim said there about it's the biggest game of the season because it's the next game of the season. I think that's how I hope certainly that Slot and all the players are looking at it at the moment, taking it, one game at a time. I know it's a massive cliche, but hopefully that's how they're looking at it and hoping that they get a result in this one, build a bit of confidence going into the next one. I don't think it's quite season defining because it's with the new Champions League format and the way it runs in and stuff, we've still got another 2-3 home games in the Champions League and some of the much easier fixtures coming there as well against teams you would be. I mean, it would be a monumental shock if we lost to them, teams like Carragher later on and things like that. So I wouldn't say it's season defining. I still think with the new format, we'll find a way through the Champions League, no problem. I'd be more concerned about the game on at the weekend against Brentford, to be honest.
Yeah. That's a good point. I was just going to ask you, more important to win tonight or more important to win at the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I'd even take I said I'd take a draw against City last time and got panned for it. So I'm not going to say I'd take anything except a win tonight. But yeah, if you had to choose one of the two to get a win out of, then it's going to be Brentford at the weekend to get the league form back on track because that's the important one. That's the one where that's the one where we're really going to be judged until later in the season. What I'd like to see tonight more than anything is just a better performance. To be honest, yeah. I think I've been saying it for weeks now and crying out for. Looking for a bit more of that tactical identity to come back, a bit more of that intensity in attack and the individual errors to be stamped out at the back. And that would be progress for me tonight.
But you played a lot worse this season than you did at the weekend in your one games.
Say again, sorry,
You played a lot worse than you did at the weekend. I thought you played all right against Manchester United, but you've played a lot worse than that, but you've won games in the early games of the season and got away with it. So it balances itself out.
It does. What I would say, whilst I totally agree that the performance against United was definitely an improvement, we've still not seen a good performance in the same way that we saw from Liverpool last season. And I know I've said before, when I've been on, that at this point in the season last year, we still weren't firing on all cylinders. We were only just starting to find the rhythm, but it was kind of always on an upwards trajectory. We were getting there game by game, whereas this season it feels like we improve in one area and we fall apart in another. We improve in another area and then we haven't kept that progress from another. And I think it'd be nice to just see a bit more of that progress in performance, to be honest.
Can I ask you one question? It's topical because of Paul Merson's quotes about Erling Haaland. If you lose Van Dijk, can you win the league?
No, not at the moment. Not with our current centre-back options, I don't think. Konate, actually, I thought did really, really well against United. I thought it was one of Van Dijk's poorer performances this season, if I'm dead honest, Tim. But no, I think over the course of this season already, we've seen just how important Van Dijk is. And knowing that, I know he's only a young lad, you wouldn't be expecting him to come in and play a run of games. But Leone being out for the year, us not getting Gueye in the summer, I think if we lose Van Dijk and we're relying on Konate and Gomez, I think that would definitely impact on our league form.
But you think you still finish in the Champions League, though?
I think it makes it harder. I think it changes our season. If Van Dijk does his ACL tonight and he's out for the season, I think our expectations for the season change from being title challengers to top four race for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you happy with Van Dijk's form, though? He was criticised against Manchester United and against Chelsea.
In the last couple of weeks, no, I haven't been impressed with his form at all. I think you're looking to your captain in moments like this as a team, right, to step up and to hold those performance levels that he's had for us for years and to lead by example for the team. And it's unfortunate timing for him that at a point where all of our big players, big signings are in poor form. Salah's in poor form. It's really bad timing for Van Dijk's performance levels to have dropped off as well from where he was at the start of the season when he looked as good as he's ever been.
We've got a voice note from Nasrul actually on tonight's game. Let's hear that.
I think Arne Slot needs to find a reaction, not just for the points, but also to prove that he can stop this slide. After losing to United the other day at Anfield, this game against Frankfurt, it decides whether it's just a bad run of games or a full-on crisis.
Right, OK. I mean, just thinking about that and what you said about Mo Salah, Connor, tonight's game, you think, in terms of the Champions League, won't be that critical because you think you're going to get through anyway. So is tonight the night to try something different on that right-hand side of your attack?
Yeah, it's very possible. I've seen there's been a lot of talk this last week about, in the last few days, about whether Salah should be dropped or not. We've actually already seen Salah get, not dropped as much, but rested when we played Galatasaray as well. And I thought it was the wrong decision then. I wouldn't be surprised to see him not start tonight. But I'm not sure I'd necessarily say he's being dropped. I think trying something different is no bad thing. Chiesa's probably earned the right to play on the right and to start a game on the right. Frimpong did well in the 10-15 minutes that he had against United. The only counter to that, I suppose, is that we haven't got another player like Salah. We haven't got. It's not as if we're saying, take our striker options. It's not like we're saying Isak's in poor form, drop him and bring in Ekitike, who's an £80 million striker who's been brilliant as well. Salah on the right wing is the right wing option at Liverpool. Yeah, anyone else is sort of a bit of a, not makeshift, but they're nowhere near his level. So it's tricky when you're talking about dropping him. Resting him, yes, to get him ready for the weekend, but dropping him, I'm not in that camp yet.
Wirtz will play tonight, won't he?
He better add. I don't know how he's supposed to get any better and work with the system and find his feet and find his form if he keeps playing on the bench. To be honest, it's a bit of a baffling one, that one.
Connor, I still think your biggest goal threat is Cody Gakpo.
At the moment, yeah. I see fans online all the time, and I mean, sometimes it's your online fans, instead of your proper fans, but you see them slating Cody Gakpo.
No, he's your biggest threat.
Yeah, I think he's brilliant. I think this season he's been really underrated again. He is underrated, I think, in this league. And as you said before, Timmy, he could have had 3 or 4 against United on another day, and suddenly the narrative changes on him.
With Arne Slot, he's got loads and loads of credit in the bank. But when do you start getting worried?
If we lose tonight and there's no sense of progress, as I said before, I think I read before that the first time we've lost 5 games in a row is we have to go back to 1953 or something like that. So it's that would be, people are going to start questioning him, and rightly so, if the performance isn't there as well. I think even if we don't get a win tonight, but you can see that we've got that intensity back, we're creating chances, and it comes down to individual players not taking chances like Salah and Gakpo at the weekend, then I think you can go, great, well, things are moving in the right direction. We will get there. And then I would be in the same as Tim said before, I wouldn't be as worried about it. If there's no performance tonight, no progression, and we get steamrolled by Frankfurt, or it looks like they're in control of the game throughout, and then the same happens against Brentford, then I think he's under huge pressure at that point.
Connor, does it worry you that Arne Slot keeps coming out and talking about the opposition all the time, about playing low blocks and taking long throws and playing direct? I mean, the more he tells people that he's not comfortable with that, the more people are going to play against you that way.
Yeah, he's an honest bloke, and he's sometimes to a fault, I think.
I think he thinks he's criticising, or I'm not sure what the motive is, but he needs to stand back and think about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's something that as fans we loved about him when he came in. Is like his tactical insight and his honesty when he was talking tactics in the game was a bit of a breath of fresh air, because you're so used to hearing managers give cliche answers and say, and protect the players, give cliche answers, difficult game, that kind of thing, and not really get into the meat of anything. And Slot doesn't do that. He's honest after every game, and I think it would be if he was being honest at the weekend, he'd blame individual players not taking the chances like everyone has. But yeah, I think revealing tactics, there's a point where you sort of go, maybe keep your cards a bit closer to your chest. But I'm sure he's learning that as well about the game. And as you say, this is the first time he's been in this position where maybe he has to hold a little bit back.
I hope for your sake things turn around, Connor. Thank you.
Right, let's have a chat about those Champions League results. What a great night for the English teams. All 3 winning, all with clean sheets. Arsenal 4, Atletico Madrid 0. Merce, that is some statement win from your old club, isn't it?
Very much so. I think in Europe, you see results, everybody around. You look at tonight, Arsenal and PSG, you look at them results. If you was other teams around Europe, and you go, wow, no one beats Atletico Madrid 4 and score that many goals against probably the second best team in Germany in Leverkusen. Phenomenal. But Alves hit the post, hit the bar a couple of minutes into the second half. Who knows if that goes in, different game. Can't take away from Arsenal. Just kept on going and just steamrolled them in the end. Literally steamrolled them. And ain't seen an Atletico Madrid team like that for a long time. Looked lost. Literally looked lost, looked beaten up. And just were well beaten. So, it's massive statement. Big game this weekend now against Palace. They need to win that game. This is a big football match. So, they're rolling along now. But that's a great performance, especially in the Champions League against Atletico Madrid.
And it was coming up to the hour mark, wasn't it? They hadn't scored, and you were just wondering if it was going to be one of those frustrating nights, but how often does a set piece open the door for Arsenal?
Yeah,
again?
and I don't think it was a free kick, if I'm being honest. I don't think it was one. But it gets whipped in. It's a Frank Lampard free kick. He whips it in, and it looks like if he misses it, I think it still goes in. But yeah, Gabriel comes steaming in, and he heads it. Goalkeeper gets a touch to it, it goes in. But brilliant service. I still think Atletico Madrid, one's going back, two are going back. They're all over the place, and that's not an Atletico Madrid for me. They weren't in a line. Two were dropping back, three stayed up, and Gabriel just steamrolled through. So yeah, two set plays again. And the icing on the cake, Cucurella's getting 2 goals.
Yeah, because you said to me before the game, you said he has still made a difference even though he hasn't been scoring. His first Champions League goals, 3rd and 4th tonight for Arsenal. How much good will that do him?
Oh, massively. As a centre-forward, you want to score goals, even though you're working hard and the crowd are clapping in everything he does. First half, 9 touches, not 1 in the box. You know, that's a worry. But, yeah, come second half, you know what I like? He just keeps on going and going and going. He ain't all about himself. He's about the team. You know, if he gets the ball down the channel, he'll play the easy ball for the team. He won't try and cut inside and have a 30-yard shot that's never, ever going to go in. Good team player. For me, you'd want him on your team. Not before Haaland, but you'd want him on your team. Yeah.
Great night for Gyökeres. First goals in 10 for club and country. Arsenal thumping Atletico Madrid. 3 wins from 3 in the Champions League. Newcastle, back-to-back wins. A 3-0 win over Mourinho's Benfica. And, you know, Steve, we were talking about how Newcastle are at their best when their wide men are performing. Yep. Well, they all performed tonight, didn't they?
They were sensational. Every goal was absolutely sensational, especially in the wide areas. They just attack with pace. And when they do it, it's so hard to defend. First half, they probably just edged it on the chances. Benfica had some great chances. Luca Bacchio hit the outside of the post. Had another chance where Pope saved it really well. The change of the game came with 2 substitutions, Barnes and Joelinton, when they come on for Ramsey and Murphy. They changed the game, but a bit of impetus in midfield, a bit of spark to the game, and then the 2 goals after that from Barnes were just absolutely electric. The second one from Nick Pope, long throw, and Barnes just took it away, lovely finish. And the 3rd goal was just absolutely sublime with the football interactive passing from Anthony Gordon, Valdemada, and then Barnes finished it off. Anthony Gordon was absolutely sensational tonight. Got presented with the player of the match trophy, fully deserved.
And was it a 65-yard assist from Nick Pope as well?
Was that what it was?
Yeah,
was
apparently, yeah.
But I say, what's the longest assist for a goalkeeper with a throw? The throw was magnificent. It looked a bit unorthodox, I've got to say, but it got to Barnes, and you know when he's got the ball, he's got one thought in his mind, head down, can I get into the box? And what a lovely, crisp finish across the goal. They was really professional, disciplined, they got the job done. They earned the right to play, waited for the game to stretch open, and when it gets open, there's no better team than Newcastle on the break.
Yeah, it's been a little bit stop-start this season for Newcastle, hasn't it? But maybe a result like that will really provide lift-off as they prepare to play Fulham back at St James's Park. And then they've got Spurs at home in the League Cup after that. Let's finish our wrap-up of the English teams. A great night for the Premier League sides, with Manchester City winning 2-0 away to Villarreal. Simple as that. Job done by half-time, wasn't it, Danny?
Yeah, it was. Haaland emphatic again. You know, right place, right time, 6 yards out, back of the net. He's just got such a fantastic knack of being in the right place at the right time. He was the one causing all sorts of problems. He drew 2 defenders to the far post for the second goal. Bernardo Silva, unmarked, 6 yards out, simple header. And that was it, done and dusted. City controlled it after that. They didn't really have to break sweat. Very late on, I think in the 89th minute, Vega hit the post from a corner, from a header. But City had almost sort of given up by then. You know, they were in absolute cruise mode. But I think Champions League's really interesting this season. New format, second time around. All the big teams seem to have taken it a bit more seriously. And this time last year, we've sort of seen a lot of strange results. This time, I think all the big teams seem to be winning and going, actually, we don't want to be anywhere near those playoffs come the end of the season.
And they've got a big game next. Dortmund come to town as well. Yeah. But a win for them. A first away win, though, in the Champions League since last October. There have been questions about them away from the Etihad.
Well, they struggled, didn't they? You know, they just made... Well, them and PSG just made it in, I think, on the last game. You know, into the playoff situation. Last season was a write-off for City. You know, they simply were not good enough. They weren't at the races for many, many different reasons. I still think, as Mer said earlier, I still think they're a little way off it. You know, they need a few more. The reliance on Haaland is too much. You know, they need backup from other areas. And when the games come thick and fast and get a little bit harder, they can't just rely on Haaland scoring every single time. The rest of the team need to chip in a little bit more.
Anyone really expected this in terms of Liverpool, Jamie, given how impressive they were last season, winning the Premier League in Arne Slot's first season in charge? Then that huge investment in the summer. But has that almost created more confusion than it's solved problems?
Yeah, I think every Liverpool supporter's been sort of having sleepless nights trying to work out what Liverpool should be doing, the system they play, what players they use, the players they brought to the club. And I'm sure the manager's feeling exactly the same. But I've mentioned the last couple of weeks, Liverpool's summer transfer business didn't feel Liverpool-like. It felt Real Madrid-like in terms of actually going to buy the most expensive players or the best players on the market in the positions that you want and paying top dollar. Now, what we saw yesterday was Ekitike, who's been Liverpool's best signing, on the bench, and Wirtz on the bench. Now, I think Gary will know this better than me, but when you spend that type of money on players, the people who've spent the money on, they want to see that money on the pitch. You know, and that's a big problem for them.
Money, did you?
I haven't spent any money yet. Made a huge profit, just for the record.
I mean, have you had a situation?
Yeah, so
like
we did have it. It's very different, obviously. But when I was at Wolves, we did a lot of work. We had some real success in our first season playing Mario Lemina and João Gomez as the two. And then in the summer, we made Mario Lemina captain. And then 10 days or 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, Andre arrives from Brazil. Top signing, top midfielder. Loved him to bits. But now we have this conundrum of I've got my captain, who plays centre midfield. I've got João Gomez, who's been excellent. And I've got Andre. So do I change the system? So we tried changing the system. Didn't really work. Can I leave my captain out to get Andre in? Difficult one. Do I leave João out, who's been excellent for me since I've got here? So Arne Slot will be thinking about this, I'm guessing, a lot.
Yeah.
You know, he'll go training, he'll think about training, and he'll come in and he'll sit in his office and he'll look at his whiteboard and he'll just be thinking, how do I move these bits around to get these in and win football matches?
And Wirtz in the same side.
I was probably one of the few people who wasn't big on Isak coming into the club because I thought it would be a problem when you buy a guy, Ekitike, for 80 million and another guy for 125 million. And it's not actually good for Isak having Ekitike on the bench because he's always looking over his shoulder. He can never relax. He knows if he hasn't done something in the first hour, he's probably going to come off. Now, I think Arne Slot, as you're saying, how can he get the two of them on the pitch? I think he's got to find a way, not every week, of getting the two of those players on the pitch.
Like then? Let's have a look.
Well, listen, I'm thinking of the big money signings who were on the bench at the weekend, and namely Wirtz. So I'm trying to rack my brains as well as a Liverpool supporter what Liverpool could do. Now, I've took Gakpo out there.
Ruthless.
Yeah, but listen, he played really well yesterday, and Szoboszlai would find a place somewhere in the team, but we're concentrating specifically on this attack. So Isak and Ekitike, at some stage, he's got to try and make that work. Now, I go back to what I said before. It was a Real Madrid summer. I think Arne Slot almost has to be a Real Madrid manager, and I put myself up. He maybe put himself in the shoes of maybe Carlo Ancelotti, who every summer, whether that was at Chelsea, Real Madrid or AC Milan, they'd have big money signed and he'd have to make it work, and he would alter it to suit it. So, perfect example is he wins the Champions League a few seasons ago with Karim Benzema as the striker, Ballon d'Or winner. Benzema goes to Saudi. He ends up playing Bellingham as a false nine. It's a completely different way of doing things. So I look at Wirtz being maybe in that position, tucked in. And the reason I'm saying this is because it's about getting the money on the pitch. So Wirtz, you can't keep on the bench forever. So we've highlighted a few weeks ago, in that left channel there, inside, where he plays for Germany, where he played for Leverkusen in that back three system. Ekitike at times, and Isak off him there. And also playing Wirtz there, could that maybe get Carragher higher up the pitch? Because we all know, as Gary knows, the game now is about almost getting that front five up there. So maybe Wirtz comes inside in that position. Carragher, another signing, maybe opens the space for him to come in. And you get Ekitike, maybe Salah or Frimpong on that right side. But I'm trying to think as a manager, and you'll know this better than me, when you've spent big money, you have to find a way of getting these players in the team. And Carlo Ancelotti was the absolute master at this.
Yeah, and I think
5 and a 5.
Yeah, and I think it could suit Wirtz, because obviously the Premier League is definitely going to be more physical than what he's been used to, and maybe some of the criticism aimed at him, or some of the reason that he's been ended up on the bench, is adapting to the physicality of the Premier League. So maybe if he operates wide and drifts into pockets rather than being someone that's in there around midfielders all the time, maybe he'll get a bit more freedom. You've seen Thomas Frank doing it a little bit with the boy they signed from Leipzig.
Yeah.
Simmons.
Yeah.
So they've tried to do that with him. So maybe it gives him a bit more freedom to arrive off the side and drop into things rather than being in the middle of the pitch all the time. I think it definitely suits the three at the back. And Kirkes hasn't shown his Bournemouth form yet. So maybe giving him that licence to go around people will get him involved. But the key, as Jamie said, to get back to the point, is can we get these two on the pitch? Because both top number 9s, can we get them close to each other and combine them?
And that's the interesting thing, I think, with this Liverpool summer. Liverpool's summer in the past, they've always been about a plan, and you almost knew what it is. But when you actually see where Liverpool, what they ended up with at the end of the game, with Wirtz playing central midfield, it looked a bit of a mess on paper. It didn't actually transform to be a mess in terms of Manchester United going forward, having lots of chances. I don't think it felt like that. But it's going to be really interesting how he gets Ekitike, Isak and Wirtz in the team at the same time, because at some stage he has to, because he's paid that much money for them.